What if the Earth was actually flat? It sounds wild, but imagine for a moment that you're living on a flat disk, not a sphere. What would that mean for life as we know it? How would gravity work? And just how different would our reality be? So, first off, let's address the elephant in the room. We all know that Earth isn't flat. It's an oblate spheroid, and for a lot of good reasons too. But what if we just put all that aside for a second and entertain the idea that it's a flat disk instead? Let's get into what that kind of world might look like. All right, let's start with the basics. If Earth were flat, it wouldn't be the kind of flat that you see in those maps hanging in classrooms or in your favorite video game worlds. Nope. It'd probably look like a giant frisbee floating through space, with the North Pole smack dab in the center, and Antarctica forming an icy ring around the edge, keeping everything in place. Kind of like a cosmic pizza with Antarctica as the crust. Can you imagine what that would do to our sense of direction? Gone would be the days of east and west wrapping around the globe. In a flat world, those directions would just end. Now, let's talk about the edge. Yep, that's right, the edge of the Earth. Would you be able to just stroll up to it, like some kind of planetary cliff? Would water spill off into the abyss? Or would there be a wall keeping it all in? Maybe something like that mystical ice wall some flat Earth enthusiasts imagine? If we're going down that path, we might even picture an edge so steep that no one dares to go there, a place where the atmosphere thins and the temperature drops dramatically. And get this, if gravity worked the same way it does on a round Earth, you'd start feeling it pulling you back towards the center as you approached the edge. Like walking up a steep hill that never seems to end. Crazy, right? But gravity wouldn't necessarily be the same at all, would it? You see, the way gravity works on a round Earth is that it pulls everything toward the center of mass, our planet's core. But if Earth were flat, the mechanics would be totally different. Imagine if gravity worked more like a spotlight beaming down from above, pulling everything straight down toward the disk's surface. It'd be like we're all actors on a stage, being pushed down by an invisible hand from the sky. And that would change everything about how we build, travel, and even live our daily lives. Think about it. Skyscrapers would probably lean the further they are from the center. Rivers might flow differently, and sports would become a whole new ballgame. In a flat world, gravity wouldn't pull equally everywhere. Things at the edges would feel a weaker pull than those closer to the center. So if you lived near the edge, you might even feel lighter, like you're walking on the moon. But wait, that's not all. We need to talk about the sun. The sun would be a whole different story if Earth were flat. You see, on a round Earth, the sun rises and sets because our planet rotates, giving us that beautiful cycle of day and night. But on a flat Earth? Picture this. The sun would move around in a circle above us, like a spotlight at a concert. Instead of sunrise and sunset, you'd see the sun getting closer and brighter, then further and dimmer, like a lamp swinging around the room. And you know what that means, right? Say goodbye to time zones as we know them. Instead of a gradual transition between day and night, the sun might just blink out of view for some places while it keeps shining in others, creating a kind of spotlight effect over certain regions. That would mean some truly wild weather patterns, with constant daylight in the center and perpetual twilight or darkness near the edges. And speaking of weather, that's a whole can of worms too, because if Earth were flat, the atmosphere would have to behave completely differently. You know how on a round Earth, air currents wrap around the globe, creating jet streams and all those complex weather systems? Well, on a flat Earth, the atmosphere would probably stack up like layers of pancakes, denser near the surface, thinner as you go up. The winds would flow in strange, swirling patterns, like water draining from a flat surface, creating whirlpools in the sky instead of smooth jet streams. We might even get super strange climate zones. Remember that icy ring of Antarctica we talked about earlier? If that's the edge of the world, then it would probably act like a gigantic freezer, chilling the air and creating wild temperature differences between the center of the disk and the rim. Imagine traveling from a scorching tropical region in the center to a freezing tundra in the span of just a few thousand miles. But here's something even more mind-blowing: space travel. If Earth were flat, what would it even mean to launch a rocket into space? Instead of a nice, even escape from the planet's gravity like we have now, launching a rocket from different parts of a flat Earth, scientists and engineers would have to completely rethink how orbits work, since a flat Earth wouldn't have a spherical gravitational field pulling objects back into a predictable path. And get this, if you were to somehow look back at Earth from space, it wouldn't be that beautiful blue marble we're used to seeing in pictures. Instead, it might look more like a cosmic pancake, with clouds swirling over its flat surface and the sun hovering in the sky like a spotlight in an alien arena. A truly weird sight to imagine, don't you think? Imagine how human history would have been different if Earth were truly flat. Back in the age of exploration, if the Earth were flat, sailors wouldn't be trying to find a way around the globe. They'd be navigating a giant disk, maybe even trying to find the mysterious edge. And you know, that whole thing about Columbus proving the Earth wasn't flat? In a flat Earth reality, that story just wouldn't exist. People might have been more focused on figuring out what's beyond the ice ring, or if there even was anything beyond it. Would they have believed that there was another side to this disk, or that the oceans just fell off into the void? And speaking of falling off, would there be myths and legends about creatures that live beyond the edge? Maybe tales of daring adventurers who journeyed too far and never came back, swallowed by the great unknown beyond the icy rim. Stories like these could have shaped entire cultures, just like the myths and legends of sea monsters did for the sailors of our round Earth. But let's be real for a second. A flat Earth wouldn't just change the way we see the world. It would change how the entire universe sees us. Our round Earth fits neatly into a system where planets orbit the sun, where galaxies spin, and where everything is governed by the same laws of physics. But a flat Earth? That would be a cosmic anomaly. It wouldn't follow the rules that govern other planets and stars. So the big question is, why would it be flat in the first place? Maybe in some hypothetical world, there'd be an entirely different kind of physics, a different set of natural laws. There might exist a flat Earth. Because to make a flat Earth work, we'd have to rewrite the very rules of the universe itself. That's where things start to get really deep. How would you explain seasons, tides, eclipses? All the things that just work on a round Earth would suddenly become huge mysteries to solve. And honestly, that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. It challenges us to imagine what our world might be like if everything we thought we knew had to be reimagined. It's a little like being a kid again, asking the big, wild questions without worrying about whether or not they make sense. And sometimes, that's where the best ideas come from. So, what do you think? If Earth were actually flat, would it be a better or worse place to live? Would you dare to explore the edge? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe.